This podcast is brought to you by Steede Motor Group, Claregalway. For your personalised vehicle shopping experience, find out more at steedemotorgroup.ie.
So delighted now to be joined by former Galway senior hurler Kevin Brady to look back at the opening round of the senior and intermediate hurling championships. Some great games really over the weekend, and we're just going to look back through the talking points of the senior and intermediate, and also this week on the hurling edition of the podcast we'll have Jeffrey Linsky updating his power rankings as well. And don't forget, this podcast is brought to you as well by Steede Motor Group. Check them out if you need cars, anything like that. But Kevin, what you make of the weekend gone by?
Yeah, a good weekend of hurling. We probably predicted most of them. Myself and Durban the other day. Few standout performances for me. Turlough was the one. The top Portumna gave them more of a game, but Turlough we'll hit Loughrea in a minute, but Turlough were awesome. They looked the team of the weekend. All around the field. They just looked the ultimate package. Joe Canning was still the man for Portumna. I think he scored 8 or 9 points. Like, it's great to see Conor Walsh back going well. Barry McDonough, Dahi holding number 6. Tom Walsh or Tom Cork gets into forward. They just look a really decent outfit. And what I like about them? They went man on man. There was no sweepers. They have a great management team there in Shocks and Brian Holland, Pádraig Walsh, Paul Doulahan. They really know what they're about. Like I said the other evening, I've seen them in a few challenges and stuff, and I know challenges don't really mean a lot. They got to a league semi-final. I think with Loughrea, they went on and beat them. So they'll definitely be in the shake-up at the end of the year. It was a big game for them now. It was a banana skin kind of game, but they pushed on, won it easy. What
have you seen from Turlough that you might have seen in previous years? Because that did really seem like a statement of intent at the weekend.
They just look like a team. People might say that's just that's a hairy, scary comment. It isn't. They just look like a real team. They're bonded. I know the work they've done pre-season. They've done a boxing tournament and different things. It keeps them fit. It keeps them away from the hurling, and it keeps their appetite fresh. I've seen a lot of stuff they were doing. They mixed it up, changed it up. They're giving every young fella a chance. And I like, I brought on Killian Threars there, so he keep him out of the intermediate team for the Saturday. Just small things like that. Cute management, but very physical, very, very fit, very fit. Like I said, they're going to have a lot tougher tests on the road, but just going on the last day, for me, they were probably the team of the weekend that I seen. Loughrea being a close second, but it was a mismatch really with them. But Turlough, yeah, they're right up there.
You've talked about your cousin Dermot Shaughnessy. You talked about the demand that he bring, the intensity he bring. But just knowing him as a character and an individual and the personality he brings, what's he bringing early on that when you were kind of there on Friday evening and you're like, I can see his fingerprints over this team?
Just no messing approach, but at the same time, like, a manager has to manage, coaches, and Darren is a very, very good man manager, but he'll cut you down very quick. There's no one above the team. But then he has Walshy with him and Brian Holland, Paul Doulahan, and Hershey. They have a very, very good backroom team as well. Seen them a few evenings, like I said, training, and it's very, very disciplined, but also good fun in it. And I'm sure it's the same in every other setup. But Shocks deserved his chance. He was at Rahone for a couple of years. He was with the Turlough Intermediates before that, and a great success with them. And I think Turlough are on a mission this year now. I'm not putting the jinx on them, but they'll be definitely there at the back end of the year.
The fun standout performances really from a Turloughmore perspective. I think Conor Walsh finished with something like 12 or 13 points. But just really, really positive to see him back to his best.
Yeah, he's a great young fella. I really like him.
Does he have a future now back with Galway, do you think?
Absolutely, sure. Everyone has a future back in with Galway if you're good enough at county or club level. We've seen what Galway done this year. They went down very quickly. So it's wide open. there's no such thing as a closed book with county setup at the moment. We need new hurlers. Shefflin knows that himself, and Joycey and the boys and Lally in there. Conor Walsh, he deserves his chance. You know, he's a very, very good young fella. I like his attitude. He took last year out. Just all around the field, I thought they were.
Dara Whelan too, from the field, very good. There seems to be a nice balance between pace, physicality, size.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose what was missing in Turlough for years was forwards. You know, they were always known as tough teak fellas and tough men that have 2 or 3 hurlers. They have 15 to 17 good hurlers now. Look very fit and very adaptable. Like Dahi at number 6, he just anchors everything. Like the pressure seems to be off him. Even Tom Cork the other evening, his work ethic was massive. I think it was something like 6 hooks or blocks he put in at full forward. He got one of them over on the other half back line. That'll just give you an indication of the work rate and work ethic that Shocks is bringing into them. The game was well over at that stage. Now, only for Ivan Canning, they could have got another 2 goals. Ivan pulled off 2 massive saves. And probably no harm that he did pull them off, because Turlough wouldn't be learning anything by winning by the margin of 30 points, no more than Loughrea. Portumna are in a spot of bother now. With the groups of 4 this year, you have to win your first game or it's do or die.
They're under pressure now, but you still thought that you still seen some positives from them on Friday evening.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They didn't throw in the towel either. Like I know I always refer back to Joe, but he just moved the ball around so well to the younger guys. And when it wasn't happening, I think he scored 5 points from play. And Turlough just went man on him. Regardless who's on him, Canning is always going to score. He's that kind of a player. But he was moving the ball around to Dolphin and a few of the guys. And the younger guy there went forward. Forget his name again.
Adam Fogarty, is it?
Yeah, hurled well. Nice hurler, that guy now. So they'll have a tough campaign ahead of them now, Shocks, to be honest with you. There's no easy game left in that group. They probably would have fancied their chances against Turlough, because Turlough, they haven't been reaching the heights probably they should have been over the last few years. But Turlough had different ideas the last evening, so we're talking now in the spot of bother.
Yeah, obviously the other game in that group was Thomas's and Gort, and if people thought that result against Dunloy last year was going to affect Thomas's, by no stretch of the imagination did it. Really composed a significant result. Conor Cooney really impressive there, 1-4. Shane Cooney and Fintan Burke in despondent defence. The county champions are really showing why they're going to be here for this crack at a 6 in a row.
Oh, absolutely. And I hung my I put myself on a cross last week to be shot at, myself in Durban, tipping Loughrea, and I'm sure if the Thomas lads heard that, they say, what's he on about? But you have to give them huge respect. We did say they'd only win the game by 5 or 6 points. I think it was 7 or 8 points to win it by in the end. Not a huge margin. 9 in the end, yeah, not a huge margin. Just enough, they were always comfortable. Gart will take some positives from it. Ingo Donovan there, wing back, he got 4 points, you were saying, from there. That's a huge positive. If they can bring 1 or 2 of them players through every year, but they'll need them. They'll need them coming fast now with the likes of Harty gone. They need more leaders.
Thomas's, they'll be happy enough with that start, particularly against their local neighbours. Because I presume when you're playing the local neighbours, you want to put their foot on their throat. Oh,
absolutely, yeah. I don't think Thomas's are like that, to be quite honest with you. I know there's good, there'll always be blood there and all the rest of it, and people like to think there's rivalry. But what rivalry is there? Because Gart really haven't been in county finals with the last few years. Thomas's would have sort of blown them aside. It'd be different with the likes of Loughrea and these guys who would be pushing them that bit harder. So I think Thomas's are above the old rivalry kind of stuff. When you have Conor Cooney, I suppose he'd a quiet year with Galway. Is he going to go back in? Is he calling it a day? Who knows? On club form, he's still probably one of the best hurlers in the county. So he'd a point to prove. Fintan Burke dropped off the county team, just getting bits and pieces here and there. Sherry is back. Kenneth Burke has them well drilled. Them lads train themselves. It's like Corofin in their prime, or or Tumlin in their prime, Athenry. Like good teams, you know, you only get maybe 4 or 5 years at your peak. Now these lads are going to the well for the 6th year. It'll be some achievement, but like they're probably still the top team, but I still think Loughrea will win it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even Victor Manzo there at the weekend, he looked really good too. Going forward, it's going to be an interesting group. I just want to move to Group 4, and I know it's obviously we're not doing the groups here really in order, but we are talking about the Senior Hurling Championship. But you became a bit of a sensation over the weekend.
Some sensation.
16,700 views last time I checked. On that, there's a small mentality you feel at the minute within the Claregalway Senior Hurling team. What's the response been like for you?
There's no response. What I said is what I meant. You know, people said I was controversial when I played. I'm probably controversial when I say things. I don't say it to be controversial. I just say it because it's off the cuff. It's what I think. It's what I know. Like I said, I have huge admiration for the club. Farrer, one of my best friends. I ain't going to follow with anyone. If people follow me, that's their own luck. But I was just saying in the general context of the senior team, it just doesn't seem to matter. Just doesn't seem to matter like it used to. You know, when you had the likes of Martin Cullinan and, you know, Mike Keeley, even Farrer there. You know, there's so many good, tough guys down through the years. And, like, if you take Farrer out of that team, they're an intermediate team. That's the truth of it. And it'd be a sad day to see Castlegar, like, struggle. I know they can't go down this year because they're still up in Senior A, but...
Was there ever an opportunity that appealed to you to go back in and help Castlegar?
Yeah, down the line shots, yeah, but not just now. There'd have to be a shake-up with a good few of the players there.
Have you ever been offered a role with them?
No. I was offered a role with a few different clubs that just... I have to see something before I can do something. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That's all I'll say on that.
But going by the weekend and the results, it's obviously not the start they wanted. It's when you look at Sarsfields and maybe Crowell and the other group, it was always probably, as we were predicting at the start when we were saying who's going to get out, everyone was kind of looking at Sarsfields. Sarsfields and Crowell didn't take place obviously over the weekend, but that's not the start Castlegar wanted to fall short against Ardran.
No, and like we did say it the other evening, and like Johnny Glynn, and like, he's a tank of a man. We were just talking about earlier on. Is there any truth in the rumor about him being transferred to football? But any club would like Johnny Glynn, just his presence, his positivity around the group. And I just read an article on something that was someone from Ardran was commenting, or in, we'd say, Galway context, he was coming back playing. And they were saying it wasn't fair that some guy was training all year and he was going to lose his spot to Johnny Glynn, you know. And I'd never commented on anything, but somebody put up straight away and he says, you forget that he held the club together for a good few years and he brought the Lee McCarthy, you know, back in 2017. And, you know, he wasn't long shutting him up.
That's two serious weapons to have in your forward line, because even I didn't get to the game now myself, but I was just watching back the highlights and to go GA streaming service, and I was looking for the majority of the scores. It was either Johnny Glynn winning the ball in his hand, and just from the reports of the game, 6 balls went to Johnny Glynn, the full forward line. He won all 6. But then there was another experienced man who was wearing number 12, who was winning a good bit of ball in his hand, by the name of Ariel Tanyan.
Yeah, sure. Tanyan has been a rock for them. You could play Tanyan anywhere from 3, 6, 11, 12 or 14, wherever you want to play him. They ended up with 2 of them in the full forward line at one stage. Like, what a target, man. They went back to old basics because they knew what's the point in having Johnny Glynn 6'4", 6'5", and playing around the middle of the field. So he got ball and bombed it in top and runners off him, and he picked off frees. Now, if Johnny was a bit cuter, he'd be getting a lot more frees, but he's just the kind of guy that gets ball, turns, a bit like Johnny Maher style. You know, that's the kind of a hurler he is. I think the Castlegar played Farrer in the wrong position. Like, they were 5 points down at half time. They came back and the game was, they drew with them. They brought it back to a draw game. And I was watching it and I just said, they won't push on here now. And that was the time to push on. You know, when you bring it back from 5 points down to a draw game, and they just couldn't find it. You know, they were looking for the old guard again, Farrer and 1 or 2 more, and Dean Higgins, and they just went hiding. And the men stood up again, and Mardrahan, you just knew, you could see it happening. They closed out the game, and they won it by 4 in the end.
It's a really good result of Ardran, you have to say.
Yeah. Not surprised at the result. They look very fit. Ardran looks seriously fit. And I know the game of hurling has gone so fast and it's all about stick work, but conditioning has to be massive. Like, I'd say they have a lot of work done up there now pre-season, which probably wouldn't have taken place over the last few years in Ardran. But they really nailed their colours to the mass. You know, when they knew they were playing Castlegar, I said they're going after this one. Now Castlegar, in the same respect, I'm sure they were delighted when they got Ardran in the first round. But, you know, 2 middle of the road teams, Ardran will be like Castlegar now going to have to go, and they're going to have to beat Sarsfield and Crawford.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make the task much easier.
No.
Just before we leave that game, Johnny Glynn's back playing hurling for his club. Can we see Johnny Glynn in a maroon jersey for 2024?
What age is Johnny?
And it's either
Two.
30 or 31, I'm fairly sure. But around that age anyways.
Yeah, that'd be a decision for Johnny, as in regard good enough, absolutely. He's someone we'd need in a half forward line. Whether he could last 70 minutes, I doubt it. It'd be a great thing if he did come back, and like some of the older guys now, even they've had their time. You know, Shefflin needs a serious shake up there. He knows that himself. No one needs to tell Shefflin and the lads what to do. But I know one thing: I'd be going to Johnny Glynn's house and say, "Come on, you're coming for a cup of tea."
Yeah, no, I think it's something. It's going to make Galway fans hyper. It's going to be something that we want to see because we know the size of the man, the physicality of the man, and the character is around dressing room.
Yeah, but he brings that aura about him as well, Shocks. You know, people draw to him. He's a likeable. He reminds me a bit of Donaghy Sterry, you know, from Kerry. He's that kind of a goer. He says it off the cuff, hurls off the cuff. You know, Johnny could say anything, but he could hurl anything as well, and he's a good footballer as well. Good sports guy and a good positive guy, funny guy around the camp. It'll be interesting to see now. But if he is in, I'm sure they'll bring him in pre-season as well, you know, to give him as much county action, you know, to get him back up to that standard.
We look at Group 1 then in the Senior Ireland Championship over the weekend. Clanbridge 315, Ormore Mary 117. It probably was the kind of game we expected, but impressive from Clanbridge as well at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a Kennedy got 3-3.
Yeah.
Serious shooting. You know, Nyland was quieter than usual. Didn't have to do a lot. I think he got 3 from play, 8 or 9 from frees. Niall Burke was outstanding for Ormore. Now, if he'd gotten the goal, that Bindon pulled off a great save, and he hit a great penalty, shot it low into the corner. Bindon, great save, and put it out for 65. I think Burke went off in the end. He got injured.
Yeah, towards the end.
He was having some game now. Even GMAC popped up for a point or two. Looked very, very fit. Or more hurled well. Bridge will have to be happy. You know, it was a real dogged kind of a game. There was no point in them winning that game 10-12 points. Went on and won it by 4 in the end, and you know, they'll be happy. They won't be setting the world alight, but a lot to work on.
Kennedy is someone who should be coming into the radar now.
Yeah, what age is Kennedy? 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah, 23, yeah. Like, he's definitely good enough. He has it. But there's an awful step up between club and county.
The way he took the 3 goals, I'm really impressed at the weekend.
Yeah, but in all fairness, the way they were picked out for him, he got 2 great balls turned straight into the hand. And now their movement, I love the movement. The Bridge have always been known as nice forwards, but they have a cutting edge about them this year. Moore went toe to toe with them, their physicality, and Moore are very, very strong. Be strong as any team, as in physicality within the championship. But the Bridge brushed them aside. Bridge, they're going toe to toe with teams. I've seen them last year, and I said it last week. It's a side of their hurling that we haven't seen in a good few years. Since you had the Kearnses and Fordy and Modge and all these lads over the years. There's a streak coming back into the Bridge. Ollie Moran there in coaching. You could see bits of it. You could see
With
bits
Niall
of it.
Moran coming in, yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely see it. They'll be quietly confident going in. All the talk now this weekend, I suppose, after the weekend is about Turlough and Loughrea. There won't be too many on about Clare and Bridge, So they'll be happy. They'll be very, very happy.
The other game in that group, Clonmerdale and Tommy Larkins. Clonmerdale will be happy. You obviously have to give credit there to Tommy Larkins, who battled without Jason Flynn, particularly because he's a massive player for them. But the way Clonmerdale reacted, I think it was a level at half time, and to go on and win it by 6 points.
Yeah, Clonmerdale are coming lovely. Really, really very, very fit team as well. Very well coached. Very well coached. Their movement is exceptional. Larkins, they're pure warriors up there. It was level at half time, as you said, and Jason Flynn is a huge loss for a small club, but huge credit. I know Sir Earl is still involved with the club up there, and their never say die attitude is a credit to them. They won't be fearing anybody in the next group or in the next game.
Kincannon really continuing on his form, you could say.
Sorry?
Brian Kincannon's really continuing on his form. He got on the scoreboard again with the majority of Clonmerdale scores at the weekend.
Yeah, but if Jason Flynn was hurling for Larkins, he'd be the standout player. If you're the standout player with Galway, you have to be starting for your club every week. There might be an exception, 1 in 5, where you're average, but you have to be above average at club level if you're a county hurler. There's no question about it. So I'd be expecting that of Brian Concannon. Nyland would be expecting that of himself. He'd be expecting. All of these guys, they're winners. And that's why the young guys look up to them. And that's why they're in with a county setup.
That group already, just maybe with Larkin's injury struggles, it could really be a tough year for them this year. It could come easily down to that game between Owenmore Mary and Clonmerdale.
Could do, yeah. That'd be a good game of hurling now. 2 different styles entirely. Clonmerdale move the ball very fast, or more very physical. They go a very, very direct route. They hit their half forward line a lot, and midfielders coming off. Be interesting to see the next game now. If Clonmerdale can keep injuries free, and if Moore can get Niall Burke back, I don't think he's too bad. Larkins will want to get their younger guys. If they have more than Jason Flynn injured now, they have a couple of guys injured. They need everybody for a small club,
Then just the final group in Senior A, we'll just recap then on Senior B and the intermediate. As you said, the team you picked for the Tom Callahan Cup, Loughrea 426, Mike Cullen 14 points.
What a baiting. What a baiting. Hardy there is doing great work up in Mike Cullen. They got to a quarter-final, I think, last year, semi-final, quarter-final, yeah. And I'd seen them train a couple of times as well, and they were going well with the stamp of Hardy, but there's nothing you can do when you meet class. And class is oozing out of Loughrea at the moment. I was talking to you off air there, when Loughrea had their right good team, with Mahoney there, and Gavin and Shocks and all these lads over the years, Johnny O'Loughlin and Maher, like at their height, they'd only beat an average team, 5-6 points max. I can't recall when Loughrea went out and won a game by 24, 25 points, and had a bit of a row at the end of it. And, they wanted every score. And you could see it on the line. You could see it, Brian Mahoney and the lads and Gavin and under Tommy Kelly, like the serious backroom team, no more than Turlough. They're really going at it this year. It's God help the next team that they're looking for.
Yeah, Martin McManus, they were obviously without him, but you had Joe Mooney with 2-2, you had Anthony Burns popping up, you had Johnny Cohn really anchoring things there at the back, Dylan Shaughnessy as well got on the scoreboard. Some really standout performances from Loughrea, some of those players over the weekend. Yeah,
exactly. Young Shaughnessy's a very good hurler. Like you said, Johnny anchoring down the middle there as well. I think he's popped up with a couple of scores. Great clubman. Savage clubman, and still very fit. I think he knew what he was doing when he left the Galway setup. He'd go back and give his club 2 more years or whatever he's given. Johnny looks after himself well. They have a good free taker. I think they had 11 scorers on today, 10 or 11 scorers. We're scoring from all angles, but their movement and their pure ruthlessness, no more than Turlough as well. They just went for the juggler every single time. Really looking forward to, when they come out of the group, because they will really knock out Hurling then.
Can Mike Cullen react?
Absolutely. But like we spoke about last week, Shocks, it's very hard for a dual club. Very hard. Like Mike Cullen.
There isn't too much now of an overlap when you look at Mike Cullen.
There isn't.
I would say.
It still has to be a distraction. Like I think personally, like it's like you look at the likes of Monivea as well, are trying to do it, and great club, and Moore trying to do it. Your own club, Anna Down. It's a very, very hard thing to do. Very, very hard thing to do, because, like, in Mike Cullen football, they're at the peak of their powers now. Probably the best team that they've ever had. They're after drafting in 1 or 2 more again this year in football, and like with Corofin coming so strong now as well. I know we're on about football, but just Mike Cullen in general, like Mike Cullen are really going to have another cut of the county title this year. It's very hard for the hurlers, to bounce back from that now. They'll have a long year.
We just did talk about Cappy as well. Cappy obviously back Kilkenny at the weekend, 23 points. But when we did talk about Cappy, we were talking about they were missing a few players. Was there going to be, were they going to be major losses? But at the weekend, it didn't look like it. Like the 2 Collins brothers, Niall Liam and Jar Mannion up top, very good at the weekend. James Garvey gave a really excellent display at the back. Like we did talk to Kilkenny, could have been a bit of a banana skin maybe for the match there, but Cappy just kind of always seemed comfortable in this game.
Yeah, they were always in control. McLaughlin there at the back, and Jan Mannion up front. You talk about the 2 Collins lads. They were a very, very good team, very well organised. I seen them 2 games now last year, and I even watched them in the warm-up. The intensity they bring to it, and the professionalism, which, no disrespect to Cappy, probably wouldn't have been there until Joycey really got involved. Joycey retired then, but like you can see the strength and conditioning. Like Damien Joyce would be big into that. He's left his mark now in the club, and the boys have really bought into it. I cannot see them winning the county title, but they'll be a real opponent for anyone, outside of the group stages.
Why can't you see them winning the county title?
Because you have Loughrea and Thomas is there. That's just the honest opinion. And you have Turlough there and Sarsfield's there, and they'll give a game to any of them, but I just can't see them winning it. And that's music to their ears, because it's a great way to go into any campaign, not being given a chance. And not that I'm saying I'm not giving them a chance, but I can't see them winning the county title, but I can see them definitely going out with the group now.
That's it up actually tasty in that group next round now. Captagal against Loughrea, and known characters in that Cappy team. They'll only relish here having a lash at one of the favourites, you could say, for the championship. Just some of the groups then in the Senior B. I'll just read out the results first. So Friday evening there was actually two games, one game in either group. So in the Senior B, Group 1, we had Mulla versus Lee Mellows. It was Mulla 318, Lee Mellows 116. Then in Group 2, you had Clymer defeating Beha 120 to 116, which was a pretty big result for Clymer in the first game up in Senior B for quite a long time. Just actually, if we kind of touch on those two first, Mulla, Connor was tipping them to have a rattle here at Lee Mellows, and safe to say they did.
Yeah, we predicted it the last evening. David Collins and a good few of the old guard are gone from Mellows. They're not replaceable overnight. Gussie as well, and I think Angus is involved with them as a selector. But you've Hardy there and a few of the lads over Mulla. They're supposed to be going very well. Like that, as Connor said, it's very hard to know pre-season, and within 5 minutes of championship. Nobody knows better than a player himself. Whether you're fit enough, sharp enough, you'll be found out. And they were. I was talking to a friend of mine today, Pete Finnerty, and he was at the game, and he'd be a staunch clubman in Mulla and a Galway man, and he was saying he was very, very impressed with them. He said their movement, their physicality, they just looked very, very good. And you wouldn't hear Pete saying that a lot, he'd be cautious enough, but he was pleasantly surprised at what he's seen.
Just in the other group, a big win for Hasker over Athenry as well, 216 to 19 points.
Yeah, I fancy the Hasker, to be quite honest with you. Like, when you have the two Manions, we're just saying it off air, like, you could put them on the Limerick team and they wouldn't be out of place. Like, they're two All-Stars, and that's the truth of it. Sean Blocking there as well, like, he's 6'4", huge men. Like, that's 3 or 4 of your guys. Like, that's a 50-year team in Senior B. Like, they're a very, very good team. There's a good few of them guys that play football with Calcer as well, and they'll be very fit. Very fit. I know class will always show out. Athenry are young. But I thought there'd be more of a lash in them now, to be honest with you. But then again, Galway Hurling needs the likes of Athenry back up at the top. Really does. When Athenry are going well, Galway Hurling is going well. They're going to have a tough year now. They would have marked the Hasker down as, definitely 2 points. Now they're chasing their next game.
Clymer, that's a big result. You kind of always want to start well when it's your first game back up at Senior for a while.
Yeah, it was a great result for them. Playing the old dogs in Beha. I don't know how they're surviving the last few years. They're a brilliant club up there. Numbers small. The Gantleys are staunch Beha men. But fair play to Clymer, won well. 4 or 5, was it 6 points to 1 by? Hurled very well.
Yeah, 4 in the end.
4 in the end,
yeah. 120 to 116, yeah.
Clymer are a good outfit. Clymer are good. I've seen them last year in the intermediate. Cylon played them in the semi-final, I think. They were a very, very good outfit. They'll hold their own in Senior, no problem.
Just then, Conor Malloy then, he got a late score for killing team just to hit Port Pierce's 1918.
Yeah, and I was listening to this one on the radio, and I actually done coverage of this during lockdown, myself and Darren Kelly with Galway, and I think it was a draw that day. There's never much between these two teams. And I think me and Conor actually tipped that this could have been a draw the last day, but they got a goal or a point in the last minute or two, and it looked an exciting game. I won't like to be Pierce's now going into their next game.
Yeah, no, significant results there, but you definitely will expect that. There will be a few surprise results along the way, obviously, because there are 2 groups of 4, so there's a lot to play for these teams now. Teams will be looking to react in, and teams will be looking to build, and some teams who won the weekend will be looking to win their next game and get straight into a semi-final. So it'll be interesting to see how that peters out. Intermediate, no better way to start anyways for you. Cylon beating Annadown at the weekend, 20 points to 18.
Yeah, great result for them. I was in at it. Perfect day for hurling in June Stadium. Ronan Stanker refed it, made a great job of it, thought, let it flow. It wasn't a dirty game. It was a poor enough game of hurling, to be honest with you, but listen, Ceylon won't mind. I think it took them about 55 minutes to get up to the pitch of the game. You know, they played with the breeze in the first half. The man there from Annadown was a good hurler in your club. Michael Collins, yeah, very good hurler. He was probably the best hurler on the field. Ceylon played into his trap in the first half. They were putting ball down top of him, and then they moved it away from him. But a good hurler will always find his way. They just want to watch their discipline a small bit. But in saying that, Jake Hogan was very good in goal. The full back line was good. Oran Martin was good for them. But the turning point of the game was bringing on Sean Yule. You know, he'd be borderline and down there. And he came on and he scored 5 points. I coached him as a young lad. Great kid. He's only 18, I think. Great future ahead of him. Great attitude. Took a bit of stick when he came on. And I was right beside him. I was just looking to see would he let back the hurl, but he didn't. He took it on the chin and he responded with a few scores. And a down went 2 points up with about 12, 13 minutes to go. It was 2 points that went up. I knew that Ceylon were in trouble then, but they pushed on. Oh, we visitor. they pushed on and it was a great result for them.
Just the Carnmore obviously beating Turloughmore 125 to 117. Group 2 then you had Clarenbridge, their second team beating Kilbegley 315 to 114. Rahul Newcastle beating Kiltormer 116 to 16 points. Knockmoy just pipped Ballygare then in Group 3 217 to 24 points. Ballindereen and on Spizzill, that was called off as well at the weekend. But just in Group 4, Tina Aberdeenary 320, Kinvara 14 points. We were all on this kind of Tina Aberdeenary hype train, you could say, at the weekend, but like
lived up to it.
Yes, it really has, hasn't it?
Yeah, that definitely. Like the appointment itself of Matty Kinney coming back straight out of the Dublin job back into his own club that was a statement. He's seen what was coming. I think myself personally that they'll win the intermediate this year. There's just such a balance. Intermediate's a very, very tough group to get out of, as Climber and these other teams know. But like Kinvara, disappointing now in the Kinvara, to be honest. You know, they didn't even come close to scoring a goal. But in saying that, you can never write Kinvara off. On the other side, if Carnmore, I think Carnmore made a big statement beating. I actually thought Turlough's second team would have a right good go at them.
Yeah,
they won that easy enough. Yeah, Carnmore looked very good.
Yeah, it's a significant result there for Carnmore too in that group, really, isn't there?
Yeah, Carnmore. It's they're kind of a team, as Conor said the last evening. They're hard to judge. They're hard to place. They're up down. Played very well. Also, Rahun there, John Paul O'Connell over them. I was surprised that they won that 116 to 16 points. Is that correct?
Yeah, back Kiltormer by 3. Yep.
Yeah. That was a good result for them now. Good result, especially after Shocks leaving last year. There was a bit of I think the players still wanted them there. But John Paul went in, doing a good job. I was talking to John Paul O'Connell on the Friday, and he said they were moving well. You know, he wouldn't be the kind of lad to say that we're going to win, but he said we're moving well. I'm happy up there. He said the guys are happy. When you have a happy camp, you have a chance. But if you have a rift, you're in big trouble. So they'll be in a good old place now tonight.
Would you say it's Tina and there's a chasing pack? There's a chasing pack really trying to kind of hunt them down, but they might just be a bit off.
I think so. Yeah, I do. And that'll give a bit of breathing space to the other team, and it'll probably put Tina under a bit of pressure. But I don't think they will with Matty Kinney. They've and Hodgie and all the lads. There's great work going on up there. They're definitely good enough to be senior, but whether you're good enough, you still have to do it. One bad result or one bad day at the office, you know, Killian there at the back is flying. He's the rock. On paper, definitely. And after the result the last day, you know, no more than the Loughrea or the Turlough, you were sort of wondering what was going to come with them. But they definitely delivered the goods. I think the chasing pack then will be Carronmore, Rahun, Ceylon. There'll be a few more teams coming, but I can't see anybody
Airport come into the action as well, a big challenger
Airport,
there.
yeah, they'll be a big challenger, but I still think that Tina are above everyone.
Yeah, no, so that's all we have on the podcast for today, looking back at round one. Obviously, we have football now this weekend, but Jeffrey Lindsay is going to be back with the addition of the power ranking, so there's going to be a bit of movement there, a few clubs jumping up and down, which will create a bit of the debate. But that's all we have on the show for today, looking back at the action. Thanks a million to Kevin Brady for coming on.
Thanks, Shocks.